So you got to remember the only person that can fix who you are or that can impact who you are as an individual is you. And it's such a difficult lesson that I repeatedly learn. Um, Myself, with my own experiences, with who I am, and just looking around the world and seeing various different sort of things that happen, and you realize that you can't help, um, you can't sort of will something onto somebody else, and you have to realize that it's really an internal thing where somebody decides to do something, or that they they have the courage to step up, and as much as you want to sort of make a positive difference in somebody's life, you can't affect that, right? Like, it's very much a sort of internal thing that happens where you sort of set your mind to it and you think, like, I'm going to actually do this, and I'm going to have the courage to do it. I'm going to try, and I'm going to go through all of the effort to really make this change myself. And it's so challenging as somebody else is looking from the outside in. But then even with me, I realized, like, man, there is no right answers, right? And I think about uh, things that go on in my mind and the sort of thoughts that I have, and I think about, like, what should I do here? How should I handle this thing? And I realize that there's no right answers with any of it. Um, and all of the outcomes are probably equally as positive and good. Um, and I simply just have to take those steps, whatever those particular steps are. And sometimes they're scary. And sometimes you have these sort of artificial barriers in your head, I guess, of what you know what the sort of options are, and you sort of take them off the table because you think that you would never do this particular thing. Like, this is so human nature to think about this kind of stuff, and looking at the world where you um, are, frankly, you know, your lenses are sort of colored in various different ways. We have, like, our own individual biases and what we sort of see the world, and we think in our head, well, I would never do this, or I would never do that. And then you realize, like, all of this stuff is pretty sort of superficial in terms of choosing why you wouldn't do something. And you know it's such a challenging thing to work through, um, of all of our weaknesses, and so-called weaknesses. I don't like that term. Like, our traits, right? Like, our things that we have that are naturally us and that follow us around, um, and we have to decide to actually work through them, whatever those particular things are, and the challenges that you face that are often, another person's never going to see those things, right? Unless they're close, they might sort of have symptoms of what's actually going on, inside your head, but they're not going to feel, they're not going to go through all of those experiences, and you have to go through what it means to, um, take steps forward, and sort of face challenges head on, in your own mind. And that is such a difficult thing to do, where you just take steps, right? Those little baby steps. And once you realize that the things, those little baby steps are important, you could take a little more. But for most of us, it's really, really, it's debilitating to to sort of think about all what's going on in our head, and we kind of get wrapped up in our head. We can't sort of take those big steps forward. That's why I am such a fan of not thinking about the sort of big picture and what you all have to do, and just get into it and take those little baby steps. Everybody starts off at different spots, and the problem is um, we have so many crazy barriers in our head about where we should be and how we should, you know, uh, what should things look like, and then you go and do it, and you're like way off the mark, because what you think in your head is not the same as what's actually going on in reality, and then you get more frustrated and anxious, and all of that stuff compounds, instead of just saying, hey, um, I'm not going to plan through all of these things and sort of step through, like, do all of these kind of this major plan. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to do a little wee thing today, and I'm just going to do it, and it's going to look messy and it's not going to work out, but I'm just going to do that little wee thing. So whatever that little wee thing, whether it's putting on your clothes, um, or whether it is just having a little bit of breakfast, whatever, despite the sort of negative emotions and feelings that you have, and just walk through it, um, and just stand up and say that I'm actually going to do this thing, one little tiny step, one little day, every day. And that's the sequence, right? Like, that is it, is doing things, um, despite how you feel, what's going on in your life, and doing things that you think are positive, healthy things, and just doing one little wee thing. That's it. And just trying to get that one little wee thing. And for many of us, it's just like, hey, I'm going to put on my shoes today. That's a big accomplishment, and that is a high functioning human being, right? We have this sort of idea of high functioning people. That's like nonsense, right? Like, the fact that you just get on your shoes is better than a lot of people in this world. Like, phenomenally better than a lot of people in this world. And we should be focused on that rather than all of this. I should be performing at the highest level. Like, this is nonsense, right? Um, the fact that you could put on your shoes, the fact that you could speak, is better than the vast majority of those people in around us, right? Like, start looking around at normal human beings, and those are gifts to do those things. That is something that is high functioning. And I want you to sort of recalibrate where you're standing and think about that. It's like, man, I should be really lucky with who I am right now. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.